Good morning, Ibadan. Good morning, Oyo State. Good morning, Nigerians. You're tuned into I-FLIER on the 3.3 FM, Ibadan. And this is your go-to hub for headlines, highlights, and hard truth. It's time for the press drive, your daily drive into the biggest stories making wave in Nigeria and beyond. I am your host, MARVELLOUS SOBALOJU OYEDELE. And as always, I will be guiding you through the pages of today's top stories, unpacking the headlines and breaking down the details. And we also get to bring you expert analysts and expert insight and bold opinion on the stories that matter most. From politics to policy, economy to education, governance to grassroots, nothing is off the table. Whether you are on the move, at work, tuning in from the comfort of your home, this is your front row seat for today's news. So grab your coffee, stay close to your dial, and let's press play on Press Drive, only on I-FLIER 103.3 FM, keeping you informed, involved, and inspired. As you already know, today is the 12th day in the month of August 2025, and we're starting the headlines from the Nation newspaper. From the Nation newspaper this morning, we have the headlines on the front page. Ogun government, Daniel roll over land escalate. Ogun government, Daniel roll over land escalate. Government reconstitute boards for FCC and high rep. You get to see that on page 3 and page 27. So on page 4 of the Nation. NCC precludes its CEOs from taking appointment with telcos. NCC starts on page 7. EFCC detains Tambuwal over suspicious withdrawal of 189 billion naira. Operatives begin interrogation of ex-governor. It's annual scene for life, and also annual scene for life, and also virtually impaired persons protests lockdown in Lagos airport. Alright, that's on the front page, and you continue on page 3 of the Nation paper. And the last one from the Nation front page: killing of 5 Al Jazeera journalist by Israeli forces takes toll investment. That's on page 2 as well. Also on page 2 of the Daily Times: blind, physically challenged group cripple activities at Lagos airport. That's on page 2 as well. A week after ValueJet, AON slam. That's on page 8. And on page 15, withholding Raye's NYSC's discharge certificate, revengeful action coming from Labour Party, and that's on page 15. 3 years later, federal government arraigned the Daily Times with security level 3 status, and that's on page 2 of the Daily Times. Away from that and now to the Nigerian Tribune, we have these headlines on the front page. Tambuwal in EFCC custody over 189 billion naira cash withdrawals, and that on page 8. DSS arraigns 5 over 2022 Owo church killings, that on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune as well. ValueJet, Ibon Air incidents, it's double standard. Justice must be fair and equal, coming from $1 million to support IDPs in northern Nigeria. That's on page 37 of the Daily Trust. 5 months after federal government ban, another tanker explodes in Kaduna. That's on page 7. Abducts schoolgirl in Borno. All right, EFCC detains Tambuwal, invite ex-governor Emeka Ihedioa. You get to check that on the front page, and you continue on page 3 and 4 of the Daily Trust paper. Another Castina local government enters peace deal with bandits. Another Castina local government enters peace deal with bandits, and that you can find on page 6 of the Daily Trust. We killed many bandits in Zamfara, coming from military, and that on page 10 from the Daily Trust. UN media of the Punch, and custom intercepts 10 billion naira worth of arms and expired drugs. That's also from the Punch paper on page 20. 5-phase trial over 2022 Owo Church terror attack, and that's on page 10. On page 5, IBADAN Air passengers remand reignite selective justice uproar, and that's on page 5. And also Ogun removes demolition seal as Daniel. This will be the last one for this morning. The New Telegraph newspaper. We have this one. 2024 electricity users lodged 855,757 metering billing complaint, and that's on page 20 of the New Telegraph. And we have more. EFCC detains ex-governor Tambuwal over alleged 189 billion naira fraud. That's on page 2. Ex-DSS DG to National Assembly legalize Amotekun, other vigilante groups. Alright, that's on page 3 of the New Telegraph. Planned local government poll, Rivers indigents drag Tinubu, Ibas, Rivers Siak to court. That's on page 2 as well. Israel kills prominent Al Jazeera journalist, 4 colleagues in Gaza. That's on page 4. And also Babashi Lawal, I warned Nigerians Tinubu would sideline non-Yoruba supporters. Says he cannot forgive the president as evidence of B1 2023 polls. Alright, that's coming from Babashi Lawal, and that's on page 2 of the New Telegraph as well. 13-year-old boy kidnapped in Imo escapes. Wow. As abductors sleep in Anambra bush. 13-year-old boy escaped in Imo. Alright, kidnapped in Imo actually. Escaped as abductors sleep in Anambra bush. Security deployment begin for Anambra by-election, and that's on page 4 and page 29 of the New Telegraph. 4 confess as DSS arraign all war. Catholic Church attacks suspects, coming from security sources, and that on page 27. Airline operators impose no-fly life ban on unruly IBADAN Air passenger. That's on page 4, and by extension page 6 of the New Telegraph. Gridlock on Lagos Airport Road as visually impaired persons protest school closure and neglect. That's on page 3, page 7, and page 8 of the New Telegraph. And this is a study again. Tiny traces of lithium protects brain from disease. Okay, that's on page 28 of the New Telegraph. These are the headlines making the rounds from our dailies this morning. Now it's time for us to go into details of some of them, and we're going to begin with the five-phase trial over 2022 Owo Church terror attack. Good morning once again. Welcome to Press Drive. With me in the house is Barrister Folushola. Good morning to you, sir.
Yes, good morning this morning, sweetheart. How are you today?
I'm fine.
Good morning, Nigerians. It's yet another day. Let's glorify God for whatever, at least for the gift of life, and that we have seen today. But I want to warn us that there's this popular Yoruba saying that says, a stranger that enters a village and is respected, he knows his own worth. A stranger who enters a village and is respected knows his own worth. Yes. things seems to be happening these days, especially at the airports. And it is because some people do not know their worth. They felt arrogance. I understand that anger, that Nigerians are angry now because a hungry person is not rational. A hungry person is somehow a mad person. So, but I advise that at least let's comport ourselves in everything.
Enjoy the dividends of modern and quality education.
Join the high-flying team and visit us today at Unit 1 to 5, I-FLIER College Road, Ogungbade, Ibadan. For further inquiry, call 0815-815-8707
or 0805-331-6634. I-FLIER International School.
Nurturing I-FLIERs.
All right, welcome back. And now let's go into details of some of the headlines read out this morning. 5-phase trial over 2022 Orwa Church terror attack. The Federal High Court in Abuja on Monday ordered the remand of 5 suspected terrorists accused of carrying out the June 5, 2022 attack on St. 9 counts were filed on July 23 by the Director of Public Prosecution, M.B. Abubakar. When the matter was called, prosecuting counsel Callistius Eze informed the court that the charge had been filed during the vacation period alongside a summon experte. He sought the court's leave to move the application, with Justice Waiti granted. Following the arraignment, the defendants all pleaded not guilty. Eze then applied for a trial date and for the defendant's continued remand in DSS custody. In view of the not
So far, it's too much.
It's too much.
Being awaiting trial for 3 years.
3 years.
For an offense
That was committed. I'm sure by now going
yes,
the
they should have,
bodies.
assuming that they were found guilty, they should have served about 3 years out of that, whatever. But okay, it's better late than no. But of course, I think our judicial system should look into awaiting trial matters. Like somebody said last week that about out of the 80,000 plus inmates, there are about 60 something thousand of them. Out of 83,000 there about 60 something, maybe 62,000 of them were out, because some of these people that we call awaiting trial maybe are just arrested on their way to work, and they let me see your bag and all that, and they just took him and he stayed there. I gave an example of a 10-year-old last week that was arrested when he was 10 years and he was released last week when he was 22 years, meaning that he has been in custody for 12 years without trial, without anything, without even seeing the 4 walls of the court. This is very bad, and I think the Nigerian legal system should reform itself to conform to international ways of doing things, and that is because even it is the right of the right of defendants to be heard promptly. That is part of fair hearing, that you are heard promptly, so you are taken to court immediately. At least that's why the Constitution provided for that one can only be detained for 24 hours, and where the court is very far, 48 hours. So 48 hours, that is 2 days, of course. So but why should it be dragging to up to 3 years?
3 years.
That is not too good. Now coming to the defendant themselves. I watched that on telly yesterday, and wow, I did not even know they have been in custody to that extent, because they were just fine, beautiful, and I said wow, that's cool. So but unfortunately matters have to go on, and of course since they pleaded guilty, the state now has to prove that they were the actual people.
They pleaded not guilty.
Yes, they pleaded not guilty.
Okay.
So at least it was the one that is doing that. It has to prove, or let me put it, the prosecution have to prove that those are the people that actually carried out that study act. So because you cannot just say because you brought them to court then they should. No, you have to prove your case beyond every reasonable doubt. So the burden is on the prosecution to prove their matter, and it's not them to prove that they were not the ones that did it, except and unless where the prosecution was able to prove that they were actually the ones that did it, they can now defend themselves.
Okay, why were they classified as suspects?
Yes, like the constitution says a person is not guilty
Until proven, I get it.
So that's why they are suspects. They are suspected that the ones that carried out that.
But 3 years, what is so draggy that they cannot get the evidence already before now?
I don't know. Like I said, it is not too good. In fact, it's not good, not too good. It's not good
at all.
And for a person to be detained for 3 years, of course they might have gotten court order for that, for them to be able to be detained them. But of course, things have to be done properly. Because it is against their fundamental rights to be detained for that long. So what they should do is, when a person committed an offense, the person should be taken to court and let the court make a decision whether it's the person that did it or not. But without that, just keeping a person in jail or in detention is a breach to one's fundamental human
because
rights.
There are two things involved now. This suspect might eventually not be guilty,
of course, and
it's also possible that they are guilty.
Sure.
So it is not left for the prosecution to find out if they are or not.
They may have found out by now, because they would have investigated the
That's what I'm saying.
So but it is for the court to decide whether what they found out, the evidence they have,
is tangible enough to nail them or not,
or that is connected to them. Yeah. So the connection people will say that lawyers are liars. No, they are not. It is the law. The law says this is what you should do, and if I'll beat you.
Okay. Okay. If you say you are not liars, all right. But this is where I'm going now. Say they are guilty. I'm not saying they are, but I'm just saying that if they end up being guilty, at least they owe it to the public to know why they did what they did. Do you think
and that is why it's going to court.
Has placed a female passenger on an IBADAN Air flight inbound Lagos from Uyo on its no-fly list indefinitely. This came as the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has condemned the release of a video showing indecent exposure of the passenger during the incident, describing the act as totally unacceptable. (2025). Therefore, effective immediately, she's thereby banned from flying with any AON member, either domestically or internationally, for life. Such incidents have become one too many, with the most recent being the recent one involving Nigerian musician King Wasiu Ayinde Marshal K1 on Value Jet, and the unruly behavior of Senator Adams Oshiomhole towards the member of staff of Air Peace. A video circulating on social media showed an enraged Emerson attacking a flight attendant on an IBADAN aeroplane and confronting airport security officials. In a statement on Monday, IBADAN Air said the incident began shortly before takeoff from a verbal escapade from Emerson. And the aviation company said upon arrival in Lagos, Emerson proceeded to physically assault the individual who had earlier instructed her to switch off her phone. IBADAN Air said her conduct posed a serious threat to the safety of its crew members and aircraft. The domestic carrier therefore imposed a travel restriction on her, adding that she would no longer be allowed to fly on any of its aircraft. All right, the story goes on and on, but so we can, manage our time. Now, I'm sure you must have seen there are two different videos, because there is one where she was assaulting air hostess,
Sure.
and there's a part where she was dragged out of the airplane, and this one is, we get there, but we also have Oshiomhole. Why? What exactly is happening? And we understand, because there's this thing that many Nigerians are stuck to it. Okay, because they are politicians, because they are celebrities, they feel like we are the who is who. That's why they misbehave sometimes, in quotes. Please put that misbehave in quotes. Now, this is just an ordinary Nigerian too. She's not a known. Of course, she might be rich, but then she's not a known figure, so to speak. And she also assaulted air staff. What is responsible for this? That's on one side. Then the other part where, okay, she might be wrong, and she was remanded in Kirikiri. Okay, she has been remanded since, I think the incident happened on Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay, but it made the news yesterday. Now she's been remanded.
It was on our lawyers platform.
Okay.
So I read these charges. The charges, okay, I will come to that. And I asked myself, why is government doing like this? Because if Oshiomhole did, so it has to happen. That is selective judgment, and it is unfair. So it seems Nigeria is just a banana republic, a republic that you can do anything. Kwanwan said he called the value jet owner. Of course, this one doesn't know Akwa Ibom owner. Probably is the Akwa Ibom state government, assuming that will be suspended. So, and the purser, the air hostess, now insisted that she must switch it off. And when they were, arguing, I will switch off, I will not switch off, a person beside her took the phone from her and switched it off. And that was where this thing started.